Hey guys, it is Lefforge. Welcome to my channel. I am so glad that you are here. Today, I am talking about split stays at Walt Disney World. Now, you may have heard about people doing split stays. You may have done a split stay yourself. I, for one, avoided split stays like the plague for years. I would hear people talk about how they did it on purpose, which I completely didn't understand. I would hear other people, specifically Disney Vacation Club members, talk about how they had to do it because they couldn't get the accommodations they wanted for their whole visit and they were sort of forced into it, and that sounded horrible to me as well. But, you know, I could kind of see the upside, but when the kids were little, the thought of, gosh, you gotta unpack and then you gotta pack everybody up and you gotta move all your stuff, and it just seemed not fun at all to me. So this last, actually the last two trips that we took to Disney World, actually not by my choice, were split stays. The first trip that I did a split stay was for Star Wars Half Marathon Weekend, and I switched from Old Key West, where I was staying with my good friend Sarah, to Bay Lake Tower, where I was staying just for one night. And then this last trip that I took in July with my son, we were at the Boardwalk Villas for 2 nights, and then we switched to Bay Lake Tower. I kind of had it worked up in my mind as this big, huge hassle, and I wasn't looking forward to it. And I checked every day the DVC member website to try to find a way to not have to do a split stay. It never did happen. So I put my big girl pants on. I did a lot of research in advance. I kind of thought I knew what to expect, and we just did it. Now, I will say, now that I have done it, I don't know why I was being such a huge whiny diaper baby about doing a split stay, because there are lots of positives. So I want to start there, and I want to talk about the pros of doing a split stay at Walt Disney World, and then I will talk about the cons, because there are a few things that, although they're not difficult by any stretch of the imagination, we're not talking about digging a ditch or, you know, being a roofer in July in Texas. This is just, you know, some things that you may or may not want to take the additional time to do. So, but let's start with the positive. So the number one pro is that you get to experience 2 different resorts, right? Walt Disney World has so many amazing resorts to choose from, and if you do a split stay, you don't have to choose. You could do 3 or 4 nights in one place and 3 or 4 nights in another place, and get to experience everything that each resort has to offer, including different dining options, certainly different pools, and also different shopping, all of that kind of thing, different room decor. The number 2 thing is being able to experience a couple of different areas at Walt Disney World. For example, if your kids were really big Animal Kingdom fans, and maybe you guys want to stay a couple of nights at the Animal Kingdom Lodge and really enjoy that resort, to me, you could stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge and never step foot in a park. But if you have a big animal lover, you could do a couple of kind of themed days where you're doing Animal Kingdom Park and staying at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, and then maybe you would want to switch and do a Magic Kingdom resort. The other pro is maybe your budget doesn't allow for you to stay the place that you would like to stay the entire time. So what I recommend, if that's the reason why you're doing it, like let's say you would love to experience the Yacht and Beach Club, because Stormalong Bay, who wouldn't love to spend some time at Stormalong Bay, which is, it's the hotel pool at Yacht and Beach Club, but it's really more like a mini water park. Now, that is a very expensive resort. So you may have always wanted to stay there, but you're doing a 5 or 6 night vacation and you really can't afford to stay there. For most families, I think that's a very real situation. Maybe you could stay at a value or a moderate. Maybe you're at Pop Century the first 3 or 4 nights, and then you switch and you spend 2 nights at Yacht and Beach Club, and you're really able to enjoy that entire resort area. That can be a great way to kind of end your vacation. My one caveat there is to make sure that you schedule the deluxe resort at the end of your vacation. But it is kind of hard to like start off at the Beach Club or Yacht Club or Contemporary and then move to maybe All-Star Sports or movies. That might be a little depressing. But if you start at the value or the moderate and then you move to the deluxe resort, my goodness, what an exciting way to end your trip. I've even heard of people doing, you know, concierge level for 1 or 2 nights and really ending their trip on a bang, with a bang, not ending their trip on a bang, not on a bang, that's with a bang, by doing the splurge at the end of the trip. So that can kind of help you with your financial situation. Now, logistically, it is a little tricky, and I'm going to go into the logistics and talk about how you do the split stay, but a lot of those things are going to kind of fall into the con category. So let's talk about the logistics and the cons kind of together. How it works is, of course, you check into your first hotel, and on the day when you're going to move to the second hotel, for instance, we were at the boardwalk, we were moving to Bay Lake Tower. We wanted to get to Magic Kingdom fairly early that morning, so I called them and said, hey, you know, our bags are ready. Can you come and pick them up? We're moving to Bay Lake Tower. They came up fairly swiftly. Do allow them some time, especially if it's early in the morning, but you know, within 30 minutes they were there. They picked up all of our bags. I did tip the guy that came, so make sure you have cash for that. We typically do $2 per bag. He gave us a card that had Bay Lake Tower transfer on it. Do double check that the card that they give you says the correct resort. When I did my stay at Old Key West, the first card he gave me actually had the wrong resort on it, so I asked him to please correct it, because you really don't want your bags going to a different resort than the one that you're staying at. So do double check that. Then he will whisk, or she will whisk your bags away, and you will head off to your park for the day. Now, your bags are not guaranteed to be available at your second resort until 4 o'clock. So here's my recommendation there, and some people might really consider this a con. Obviously, if you have any medications, if you want to swim, if you want to go ahead and check into the second resort and go for a swim, but maybe your room won't be ready yet, you want to make sure you have your, well, it wouldn't matter if your room was ready if you didn't have your swim gear, right? So you may want to pack sort of a split stay transfer bag, and in there you want to put anything that you're absolutely going to want before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We typically take a break in the middle of the day, so in there I would probably put, you know, a change of clothes. I would definitely put my medication. I would probably put like my contact stuff, some of my toiletries that I may want. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hand carry that to the second resort, go ahead and go to Bell Services and leave my bag there, because I know where it is if I should need it. And here comes the second kind of logistical con. It is always a good idea to go ahead and check out of the first resort and head to the second resort and check in over there. Yes, they do have online check-in. Yes, it should all be seamless and you should be able to go directly to a theme park. However, I think it's a good idea to check into the second resort and have them check your Magic Band. I had actually heard that tip. There's a great podcast that I listen to called the Be Our Guest podcast, and Pam, one of the hosts, was talking about that. She's a travel agent, and she made the point that you really don't want to head to Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, whatever, and find that your Magic Band doesn't work. That's going to create a lot of hassle and a lot of time. So my recommendation is go ahead and head to the second resort, drop that day bag with anything that you're going to need, and have them double check your Magic Band just to make sure that it works, that you're checked out of the first resort, and that you're checked into the to the second resort. So then you can go about your day. Now, our room at Bay Lake Tower was ready a lot earlier than I thought it would be, so we were able to get into our room, but our bags did not make it over until 4 o'clock. And then, of course, we called down. I called down when we first got to the room, and the bags weren't there. I called at 4. They brought the bags up. I tipped the man again, so there is a little bit of money involved here, right? Because I think I tipped either $5 or $6, it must have been $6 each time. So it was $12 to do that. But it really wasn't that big of a deal, but it did take some time. So the con would be a split stay is going to eat into your vacation time a little bit. So you do kind of want to plan for that. The other big con would be having to pack everybody up again. Now, not everybody unpacks. I'm an unpacker. I like to put things in drawers. I like to put my toiletries away. This is probably my least favorite part of doing a split stay, is you do have to repack your bags. Now, I do have a lot of great organizational tips for how to stay organized when you pack and even on your vacation. I will put my packing video right up here for you. So that does help. I use packing cubes and things like that definitely make it much easier for me to pack up. But again, it took me a little bit of time to get the room packed up, to get ready for Bell Services to take the bags. Was it a huge deal? No, it wasn't a huge deal. However, if I had been traveling with young children, we used to tend to kind of explode into a hotel room. So if I'd been traveling with young kids, I could definitely see how that could be a negative. The other negative is when you go to plan your trip. Now, we have not had any trouble with this, but I have heard that others have, making fast pass reservations and dining reservations. They are two separate reservations. If you have any trouble making your dining reservations and your fast pass reservations for your entire stay, you can call Disney and they can fix that for you, because you should be able to do everything for your entire stay. Of course, that does mean a phone call. So if you're me, I'm on at 7 a.m. or whatever time it opens online at my 60-day mark, so I can make that Slinky Dog Coaster, Flight of Passage, those really hard to get fast pass reservations. If I'm at all concerned it's not going to go through, I'm going to go ahead and make those reservations for that first part of my trip, because if I have to make a phone call, that's going to take time, and I would start to get concerned that those fast pass reservations are going to get taken. But that's just how I would do it. Typically, you're still going to be fine, but of course, it's far more convenient to be able to make all of your dining and all of your fast pass reservations. Your dining at the 180-day mark from when you check into the first resort, and then your fast passes at the 60-day mark from when you check into your first resort. So there is, again, another little logistical snafu that can be complicated. The other con is you can't have a dining plan that lasts the entire trip. You would have to have two separate dining plans. Now, that could also be seen as a pro, because what if you only wanted to do the dining plan for part of your trip? That's something that you could consider, whereas if you were staying in one resort the whole time, they're not going to let you do that. But if you have 3 nights and 3 nights and you want to do dining plan for first half and not do it for the second half, and maybe I think about how you want to use those credits to get the most use of your money. That's another option that you have as a split stay. Overall, I would say I was happily surprised with the process. Disney really has it down. Their bell services people will be efficient. They will pick up your bags. They will get them where they're supposed to go. I loved the fact that I knew I had that day bag there. I did go and get it as soon as our room was ready. So I could have gone swimming if I wanted. I could have, redone my makeup or showered or done any of those kinds of things if I'd wanted to. So that's something to really kind of think through. Remember that on that transfer day, you could potentially be homeless from the time you check out of the first hotel, which has to be by 11, and the time that you're able to get into your room at the second hotel. Because just because you've checked in with Disney does not mean that your room is ready. They don't guarantee your room to be ready until 4 o'clock. So you really want to make sure you have all that you need to get you through until at least 4 o'clock. But if you want to experience 2 different resorts, if you want to experience 2 different levels of accommodations, or if you're like I was in your Disney Vacation Club and you're forced to stay in 2 different resorts, I can tell you without hesitation that the split stay is not nearly as big a deal as I had worked it up to be in my brain. It was actually very simple, very streamlined, and as long as you just keep a couple of things in mind, I think it can still make for a really magical vacation for you and your family. Have you ever done a split stay? Are you a yay or a nay on the split stay? Do you have any questions about it? Please put those in the comments below. I'm so glad you were here today, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.